these are congruent by side, side, side. And that's corresponding sides too. So if I look at side AB right here, which is here, and side DE on this triangle, which would be here, they're corresponding sides and they're congruent because we can see it's shown right here. Now, following that same argument, if I go to side BC on this triangle and side EF right here, those two sides are congruent because we have 3 tick marks. Now, following that same thought, if I go from C back to A, C back to A corresponds with side F to D. Those are congruent to each other. So I want you to look no matter what, John. So I want you to look that the corresponding sides on this triangle are congruent because it's shown on the diagram. If I have 3 sides that are congruent, so side, 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 okay? If 3 sides of one triangle are congruent to 3 sides of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. So it's really easy to understand once you start doing it, but it's a little easier to confuse. Now, on your formula sheet, I want you to write underneath SSS, I want you to write side, 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 and I want you to write this in it. This one is an easy one to remember, and I'll get out of your way. Let me hit pause and get out of your way. So that's going to lead us to the second, which is side angle side, and you won't find that on your phone.
No.
Thank you. Okay. So that's going to lead us to the second piece.
Now,
Okay. I'll slow down. I'll come back to it. Let me hit pause. I'll come back. So here are 2 triangles. Let's see if these are congruent through side, side, side. Okay? Now, they didn't tell us, they haven't put any sort of, they haven't put any identifying marks like triangle ABC and triangle DEF. So they've just given us sides. Okay? So I've got one side that's 4.5 and one side that's 4.5.
I'm pretty sure it's
I've got one side that's 7.5 and another side that's 7.5. I need 3 sides that are congruent. Do I have that?
Yes.
I do.
Good job.
So, side, side, side is as easy as that. If I have 3 sides that are congruent, then I can say that these 2 triangles are congruent by side, side, side. Okay? So we're going to write yes, and by side, side, side.
That's a lot.
Okay, the second way we're going to talk about whether triangles are congruent is side, angle, side. Now, I want you to look at the position of the A in here, which stands for angle. And it is between the 2 sides. That's called an included angle. Now, let me read this to you, and we'll talk about this, and we'll talk about what's an included angle and what's not. If 2 sides in the included angle of one triangle are congruent to 2 sides and the included angle of another triangle, then the 2 triangles are congruent. In red right here is what an included angle is. An included angle is the angle that is pinched between the 2 sides. Now, we'll make a drawing of that. I'll let you write this down. When you guys start talking, then I know you're done. Take a second and draw this. ABC are congruent to triangle DEF by side angle side. Now let's look at this and identify our parts. So the first thing is we're going to look for sides. Okay? So we're going to start at the A and go to B. A to B, I've got that as congruent to D to E. That meets one of our criteria. That's a side. Okay? Now the angle right here, I've got angle B right here and angle E. Okay? So that meets the second. We'll go back and see if that's included in just a second. And then our third, which would be the other side, which would be B to C, is congruent to E to F. Okay? Those are congruent. So I've got a side, I've got an angle, and I've got a side. Now, the special requirement on that angle is it's between the two sides. Well, is this angle between these, is this angle right here between this side and this side? It is. Is this angle right here between this side and this side? If it is, then it's included. Okay, it's between it, it's included. So we could say that those two triangles are congruent by side, included angle, and side. Now take a second, draw these two triangles down, and it's got underneath of it, not side angle side. Remember, side, included angle, and side. Well, I've got a side and a side. So that would go here. And I've got another pair of congruent sides. That would go there. I've got a pair of angles that are congruent right here and here. But is it between? Is it included between the two sides? Well, this one's included right here because it's between this side and this side. But is this angle included between the two sides?
No.
No, it would have had to have been here to have been between them. So that's why this one is not side angle side. So we have to understand that when we're dealing with that side angle side. Open your book. Open your book to page 189. And I want you to take a look at number 1. I want you to draw that figure. This first one, yeah, this is part of your homework. Now I want you to draw that figure, even though shortly you won't have to draw these figures. But we're going to draw this figure to start with.
This is part of the homework.
This will be part of the homework. Okay, when I draw that figure for number 1, I want to look to see the directions say which postulate, if any, could you use to prove that these two triangles are congruent? So I have triangle, if I just look at this, let me get a highlighter out here. I have triangle ZWD, and I have triangle ZSD, okay? Can I say that these two triangles are congruent? Now, it's possible that they're not congruent, okay? I want us to understand that. I have two things I can look at, side, 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 and side, angle, side, okay? Now, let's look at the first possibility, side, side, side. Just looking at those two triangles, do I have 3 congruent sides?
Yeah, 4.
I have, what's given on there is I have 2, right? These are congruent to each other and these are congruent to each other, okay? But I need 3, don't I? I got two. Let's go back. Let's
Mr. Doom at 2 pairs,
two, oh, yes.
not 4 sides altogether, just 2 pairs of sides.
2 pairs, thank you. Okay, now, let's look at the other, side angle side. Do I have any angles that are even listed showing that they're congruent?
No.
No. Okay, now sometimes I might be able to say alternate interior angles are congruent, but I don't have parallel lines here. So if I don't have an angle here, that's listed up here, this one's a no. Now, it's possible that I can't prove that these 2 triangles are congruent. But there's something about that drawing that can lead us back to side, side, side. What's something we talked about in problem number 28 earlier today that might allow us to say that those 2 triangles are congruent to each other by side, side, side? What do we know that's the same on triangle ZWD and triangle DSZ? Yep. They both have lines? Say that again, son? The marks are the same, so I have two pairs of congruent. I have 2 pairs, but I need a 3rd pair, right? What can we, if I look at that yellow triangle and that green triangle, what's something that's the same on both of them, besides what we just circled? Oh, that line going through the middle. They share.
That's easy.
Let's not. They share a common side, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, if they share a common side, if I were to stand on this side of this wall and measure that, and let's just say that's 20 feet, I go around to the outside and I measure that exact length of that wall, it's going to be 20 feet, right? So it doesn't matter whether I'm standing on this side of the triangle or this side, it's the same side. So what can we say about that side? It's exactly the same. So the reflexive property allows us to say that those sides are congruent. So I would have a 3rd side, so I could say that these are congruent by side, side, side. Okay? Now, I don't want to end up giving you a bunch of homework tonight. Okay, you guys have been really good. There's two things that we wanted to cover today. So your homework tonight, and we'll go back tomorrow. Okay. I want you to go and do through number 4. Okay? I want you to do number 4, or do 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I'm going to do number 2 with us together. So your job tonight is to do number 3 and number 4. Okay? So let's take a second. Okay, here's number 2. Can we prove that these 2 triangles are congruent?
Yes.
Okay, so let's just highlight our 2 triangles to start with. So here's one triangle, and here's another triangle. Okay, so I've got 2 triangles. Can we prove that those 2 are congruent? Now, the 2 items that we can use are side, 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 and side, angle, side. Now, let's take a look at that top one, side, side, side. Tyler, do you think we can say that those are congruent by side, side, side?
Yeah, because the 2 triangles have the same markings.
Okay, how many pairs of sides do I need? 3. Here's 1 pair. Here's a 2nd pair. Do I have a 3rd pair marked? Now, hold on for a second.
Those 2 triangles would have to be congruent because those 2 sides are congruent, which means the 3rd one would have to be congruent.
That's true for angles, that's not true for sides.
Okay, all right.
Because
So,
the angles always add up to
So no.
180, but the triangle side length could be whatever.
okay, so I've got 1 set and 2 sets, but is there anything here that shows that these 2 are congruent?
No.
There's nothing there. Now, The first one, we could say they're congruent because, boy, that was the same side of the triangle, wasn't it? But these, they're not joined together. So there's nothing there that we can say that those are those segments are congruent. So I can't say through side, side, side. Now, what about side, angle, side? Say that again. There's no angle? Now, I'm going to complicate this and say there is a pair of congruent angles.
It's the
See,
vertical angles.
it's the vertical angles, right? So I'm going to say this angle is vertical to that angle, so those are congruent. But does that meet the criteria of side, angle, side?
Nope. No.
Okay, I'm hearing no. Why would that not meet the criteria of side, angle, side? Okay, I just heard the correct answer. My angle is not between the two sides, or it's not included. Here's my two congruent sides. That would be my included angle. Here are my two congruent sides on that triangle. That would be my included angle. I agree that these are congruent angles, but it's not included where it needs to be. So we can't prove this through side, 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 nor can we prove it through side, angle, side. Okay? So we would say not possible. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you number 3 and number 4 are possible. I want you by tomorrow to have 1 through 4 done, which we did 1 through 2, and I'm going to collect those for points. Okay?